All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Russ Clark. I'm the Business Development Manager here at BTRG. Before we get the presentation started, I just have a few notes to go over. All attendees are in listen-only mode. We do not anticipate having much time for questions at the end, but if you have a question, please put it in the question box on the box on the side. We'll compile all the questions and answers and send it out to everyone who's on the webinar today. Today's session is being recorded. By early next week, you should receive a follow-up email with a link to the replay. You can pass it along to colleagues or feel free to take a look back at anything we covered today. Without further delay, I'm going to hand things off to Jeff Goddard. Jeff is the president and founder of BTRG. He started BTRG 24 years ago and has a wealth of insight and experience to share with you today, so we're really excited. So with that, Jeff, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Russ. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for dedicating some time to review this pretty interesting topic, actually, which is very focused on the evolution of PeopleSoft in the cloud. So when we set up this webinar, this resulted partly from new technology that's in PeopleTools 855, but also from customer demand. We have spoken to customers that are interested in how to position potentially PeopleSoft in the cloud versus shifting to a cloud apps. And I'm going to cover quite a bit of different diverse topics around the cloud to try and position this a little bit better for you. So let me just start off by saying, as Russ mentioned, I've been working in the PeopleSoft space now for 24 years, but the last 7 years include experience with cloud applications, and I think our feeling generally in BTRG is that we're going through a very significant shift both in technology and business, not unlike some of the transformational shifts we've experienced before. For many of you, you may have been around in the early client server days when there was a technology shift from mainframe to PCs, and really getting data into the hands of HR users and accountants was transformational. Where previously mainframe data was only available to people with a computer science degree and not business users. And then the next transformation from PCs to the web and internet-enabled technologies was significant. And I think right now, of course, we've been gradually going through a similar shift from just web to cloud. And I just want to remind everybody, what was the rationale for cloud? I'm going to go through that in some detail. The upshot of what's going on in the marketplace now is it's very good news from several directions. First of all, enterprise software is really much better than it's ever been before. It's more powerful, there's less need for customization, the software is more configurable, it's faster to deploy, easier to learn, and almost every vendor is supporting mobile devices and multiple platforms with the same UI. And overall, it's lower costs. But it's not just the software industry. Our customers have also become quite savvy about their investment in enterprise software. Where there was a big shift to outsourcing, now customers are more selective about outsourcing, and they're still doing outsourcing where it makes sense and it's economic to do so. Also, customers are demanding more flexibility in their enterprise software. They want to be able to ramp up and ramp down based on the size of the company and their needs. They don't want to overbuild infrastructure, and they're looking for a better price point. The best practices that, as a consulting company, we've been advocating for years are now pretty broadly known. Most of our customers are pretty smart about the best practices for financial management or talent acquisition, and almost all of our customers are dealing with the effects of a global marketplace. Even if they're just domestic customers, it's hard to ignore these global influences around talent and competition from countries outside of North America. So we get customers asking us these questions. Should we upgrade PeopleSoft, or should we switch to cloud applications? Sometimes customers ask, what kind of an ROI, return on investment, is reasonable? What can I expect if I make that shift? And should I move partially to the cloud, kind of this hybrid model, and keep some of my apps on-premise, or do I do a wholesale switch out and move everything to the cloud? And so I'm going to attempt to frame these things and address some of these answers today. So just as a reminder, what is it that drives cloud? And part of it is this legacy of every organization setting up their own data center. And a lot of experts in the industry have drawn a parallel between this legacy situation and the early days of electrical power in North America, where to operate a factory, if you didn't have an electrical provider and generation capability close by, some businesses created their own. And inherently, this has been the case with infrastructure. We have every business kind of running their own data center. They each invest in their own infrastructure. They take various measures to secure their data. And it's a big duplication of effort within each company. It's costly, it's not necessarily efficient, and it may not even be strategic for some of these companies to invest heavily in their own infrastructure. So from an infrastructure point of view, there is a strong rationale for migrating to the cloud. The economies of scale, use only what you need, take advantage of best-in-class security. Can a cloud provider provide better, consistent security for your data than you can behind your own firewall? Quite possibly. But most of all, it's the consolidation of expertise that causes the cost to be lower and more efficient. So I think that has been a primary driver around cloud, cost. The other big driver has more to do with your core competency in your business. Do you want your IT department managing back office systems, or do you want to support your core goals? So if you're in healthcare, it's about patient management and utilization and good service. If you're in higher ed, it's about supporting your students, administration, and getting them through enrollment. If you're financial services or retail, it's all about your customer service. And those systems are really the differentiators that you want your IT department to focus on. And so you have to ask yourself, is managing IT your core competency? Do you do it better than your nearest competitor, or do you do it the same? And this builds the rationale for cloud. It does force you to ask these questions around strategic systems. Which systems within our portfolio of enterprise applications are strategic to our business? And that's not to say that things like payroll and accounts payable are not important. They are definitely important, just as email is important. But do they give your company a strategic advantage versus what I'm calling non-strategic systems that are common to every business function? So I'll give you a couple more examples here. If you were to take an outside look at FedEx, they claim to keep better track of articles in motion than we keep track of standing still. That's kind of their mantra. So the systems that support the tracking of their courier activities and how parcels arrive on time and how they can be tracked, those things give FedEx a competitive advantage. And same with a company like Toyota. Amongst car manufacturers, they're well known for quality. They've become one of the largest car manufacturers in the world, and that's all been achieved not because they have the world's best payroll system, but because they have the best supply chain management, or one of the leading supply chain management processes in place to support the building of automobiles. Same could be said of Delta Airlines. Maybe this is too soon, but when Delta has a flight control meltdown, it's, as they did earlier this week, it's extremely costly to the business. And so those flight control systems are definitely strategic. Things like accounts payable, maybe not so much. So I think every organization, as they examine the cloud, have to rationalize which systems within their portfolio are strategic versus common business functions. And where they are a common business function, asking them the question, can that function be supported in the cloud? And is that a more cost-effective way to proceed? So We've also experienced an evolution around cloud software, and it started with companies, including my company, moving email to Google. We used to host our own email servers in the 90s, and we became comfortable with the fact that we could essentially outsource and have our email hosted, and we decided to go with Google. And from the consumer side of the world, consumers have also warmed up to the cloud. It's common to listen to your music streamed from Spotify or Apple Music. We seem comfortable with the idea that we can consume products and services that reside on the cloud. We store our pictures on the cloud. Not something I would advise celebrities to do, but a lot of us do store pictures on the cloud. And I think the next significant phase of this is really what's going on today. Businesses are embracing the idea that the cloud is secure and safe enough to store my enterprise applications. And that's what really we're talking about today around the cloud. So just to help along with the definitions, because cloud's a pretty broad, all-encompassing terminology, we separate the what, which is the software you run, from the where you run it. And a lot of the cloud hype that you hear in the marketplace is a lot about data centers and virtualization and all the benefits that can be derived from infrastructure technology. But at the same time, there's a big shift going on in software. The notion that not every customer has to have their own unique version of software, and it's costly for every customer to maintain their own software. And that's what's emerged as SaaS, software as a service. And there's all kinds of other as a service offerings from Oracle, which essentially are a combination of software and some level of support that you might have paid for internally that now you can contract through Oracle. So as we go through this presentation, I'm going to refer to cloud sometimes in respect to software and other times with respect to infrastructure. And this matters very much for PeopleSoft customers. So cost savings in the cloud. One of the big motivators, here's some survey results from a CIO survey in 2016. It had multiple questions on the survey, but just two of the important factors to consider here are that 63% of respondents look at moving to cloud as a cost savings measure, and that's pretty consistent with what we hear with our customers. The primary driver is often, is it less expensive? Can I do what I do today at a lower price point? The other less significant contributor, but still a contributor, is customers that are replacing an end-of-life infrastructure. So perhaps you had your PeopleSoft running on servers and technology that was leased or hosted, and it's now 5 or 6 years old, and it's time to replace all that infrastructure. That's often a good time to consider, should I move this into the cloud as opposed to investing more in my current infrastructure? Would that be cheaper, and will I save money over the next few years? So those are the primary drivers, but there's other sources of information I want to share with you today. There was a Harvard Business Review late in 2015, I think it was released early 2016, called Cloud Computing Comes of Age. And it's a great review. If you don't have access to it or can't find it on the internet, you can email me and I'll send you a copy. And there's another study by Nucleus Research specifically on Oracle ERP Cloud. And both of them have a host of useful information. One of the metrics that stood out for me is that on-premise ERP is 2.5 times more expensive than Oracle Cloud ERP over a 3-year period. And so this research was done with customers that have been on Oracle Cloud and Oracle on-premise software. They looked at software, hardware, consulting, and training over a 3-year period to come up with this 2.5 or 2.4% differential. Also, the cost of acquiring on-premise ERP has typically been higher. There's a little chart here I'll put up. It shows that, and this is specific to Oracle, that Oracle ERP on-premise software on average costs $1.7 million in licensing, and the ERP cloud product averages $440,000 for an annual subscription. And of course, you have to dig into these numbers. They need some interpretation because with an on-premise license that most of you probably have for PeopleSoft, you've got maintenance that you're paying every year as well, whereas the cloud subscription is an annual cost. Some other interesting facts is that the initial consulting costs are higher for traditional on-premise. And I've been in that consulting business for 23 years. I'm well aware of just how expensive it can be. And it's always been my goal to make it less expensive, but I think we're seeing you know, a 20 to 30% lower price point for Oracle ERP Cloud, which is important in your evaluation and consideration. From the Harvard Business Review, I think some interesting statistics. About a quarter of the respondents to their research have cloud software in place, and they've developed policies and criteria that meet their needs for managing cloud. About another third, 34%, have some limited experience with cloud, but few policies in place. So it gives you an idea of where we are in the evolution of this move to the cloud. Another important consideration here is how cloud technology and software is being sold into the business. You'll see here that some customers are making the decision to move to cloud without IT's involvement, which is interesting. Not a big percentage, 16%, but still I think a growing percentage. So what you're seeing from software vendors is they're now targeting the CFO, the CEO, and the VP of HR to pitch the new functionality that comes with their cloud software. It's a different approach than what we saw in the past with ERP. So how do you realize the benefits of the cloud? And there's different ways you can take advantage of it. The sum of all the research we have at BTRG points to most customers considering a move to a SaaS-based solution like Oracle Cloud or a competitor, and they're seeing returns on investment that range anywhere from 2 years to 7 years, and it really depends on where you're coming from. Large organizations with a substantial investment in supporting their on-premise software obviously have a lot more potential savings by moving to the cloud. The benefits, I don't think, are really argued. The software acquisition costs are lower. Typically, consultants are engaged for a shorter period of time. You typically can't customize cloud software, which might explain why the consulting costs are lower. There's a shorter time to value. Training costs are lower. And customers are starting to realize the benefits of greater business agility. That said, there are barriers still to moving to the cloud for your software. So traditional ERP on-premise is what I would call very sticky applications. It becomes embedded in your culture, and your managers and users of the system are reluctant to potentially change. You might have some customizations that you've made to PeopleSoft that are difficult to get rid of. They may support a process that is unique to your business. And then at the same time, there may be some functionality gaps between cloud solutions and your current software. Of course, with PeopleSoft, you probably built a customization or a bolt-on, something to handle that functionality gap. And those are often industry specific. From our experience, because PeopleSoft is sold so broadly, you know, in certain industries there's a unique regulatory requirement or something that's been built into the software. And then, of course, some of our customers aren't over the hump with security concerns. So what's BTRG's position on this cloud marketplace? We think it's in the best interest of our customers to evaluate and potentially switch to Oracle Cloud applications, or at least develop a cloud roadmap over time. And if you can't switch, we recommend upgrading to 9.2 of PeopleSoft, which is the most current release, and 8.5.5 tools. And consider, this is I guess the new part for this presentation, running PeopleSoft on the Oracle Public Cloud to see some of the benefits of cloud technology. So we're very much aligned with Oracle's message, and we're reflecting, I think, the message we hear from customers. A lot of our customers have what they call a cloud-first initiative, where they're compelled to evaluate lower-cost options for their back-office enterprise software to see if it could meet their needs at a lower price point. And I think we support that, and I'm going to talk more about that as we go through this presentation. Now, for the customers that go through that evaluation and determine that they can't make that move, there's really, they're well aware of kind of these two options have been staring them in the face for the last couple of years. One is to upgrade PeopleSoft to 9.2 on-premise and maintain the status quo, maintain their current investment. And the other one is to switch to the Oracle Cloud, which used to be called Fusion Applications, and that's a SaaS play. I'm introducing today another option that you may have heard a bit from Oracle, but I'm going to talk a bit more about how to get there, which is moving your current PeopleSoft environment into the Oracle Cloud. And we're calling that a cloud-like option. And just to give you a sense, of course, upgrading to 9.2, we strongly recommend. About half of the install base seems to have made that move, but half of the PeopleSoft customers, which total more than 5,000 globally, have not yet made that move. And we've done lots of presentations and webinars on moving our customers up that slope of value from a system of record to a system of insight. And we've conducted many upgrades, everything from a no-frills lift and shift to a complete transformational upgrade. But the basic elements of this approach, choice number one, is maintaining your current investment, keeping those necessary customizations, minimizing the disruption to your business. We always advocate leveraging what you might consider the low-hanging fruit, new functionality in work centers and pivot grids, taking advantage of the fluid UI, leverage the delivered analytics, and consider a mobile strategy for your PeopleSoft investment. Of course, Oracle themselves have a cloud evolution roadmap. You may have seen this slide from some other Oracle presentations. And it essentially says the migration to the cloud is a journey, and it may take you several years to get there. You may want to go there in part. This particular strategy suggests deploying PeopleSoft on the Oracle Cloud as step number 3, and then potentially integrating other cloud applications into that environment with your PeopleSoft investment. Not a bad strategy, a conservative one, but a good one nonetheless. So option 2 is an option we're seeing happen more and more in the last year or two, and that's customers switching to the Oracle Cloud. And that involves a change in licensing, moving away from a capitalized own the software license to a SaaS license, adapt and simplifying business processes to the way the software works as opposed to maintaining customizations. It's typically yielding a lower TCO, and it eliminates your internal IT infrastructure, and that's where some of the savings come from. But a lot of the savings people are seeing there are not just because of the technology side. It really is adopting a modern business approach to the way you conduct financials and human capital management. Now, the third option that I mentioned, which you might not know much about, is one where you migrate some or all of your PeopleSoft environments to the Oracle Public Cloud. And again, the savings here maybe not as great as making a move to cloud software, but you can eliminate some IT infrastructure, specifically around PeopleSoft. You can maintain the customizations that you may need to maintain, so it's going to lower part of your TCO. Either way, when you move to PeopleSoft 9.2 and 8.5.5 tools, you need to be prepared to rapidly adopt new functions with the PeopleSoft Update Manager and Selective Adoption. And you're going to get benefits that are delivered by Oracle. This is really the shift. And when we say it's cloud-like, we sort of compare the characteristics that our customers are looking for: frequent functional enhancements, eliminating those large upgrades that you do every 3 or 4 years, the improved UI you get with Fluid, and steps to reduce the cost of ownership, which include the cloud architecture, potentially the PeopleSoft test framework, and using the embedded analytics that come with PeopleSoft 9.2. So that's the cloud-like option. This is kind of a snapshot of how these two options differ. Obviously, the subscription model versus owning the software. You can still customize in your PeopleSoft environment. Updates are delivered multiple times a year, both scenarios. And in the case of PeopleSoft, customers through that selective adoption process can determine when and what new features to adopt. So there are, whether it's Oracle Cloud applications or PeopleSoft 9.2, this is still a huge leap forward over where we were 10 years ago. And the pace of change is something that customers can decide what's right for them. And we're helping customers make those decisions with examining these different approaches. One approach is to just look at a business function. Instead of moving the entire enterprise over to cloud technology, perhaps just looking at a business function, say procure to pay, or just compensation management or something like that. And so these are the three scenarios. Examine a business function as maybe a way to get involved in the cloud, maybe an end-to-end process, financials, or recruit to retire, or a complete transformation in your organization. So let's just talk about the PeopleSoft option in a little more depth so that you get an understanding of what is involved. As the title of this webinar states, it's been very much an evolution of PeopleSoft to get to the cloud. Here's a screenshot from 1992. This is what PeopleSoft journal entry looked like. There were only 4 buttons on a page, but the revolutionary thing here was that this ran in Windows. And so you have to imagine a day when people came from mainframe terminals, 80 by 40 character green screens. This was absolutely revolutionary. Compare that to where we are today, where you've got web pages, quite ubiquitous in both a classic format and in fluid, tiles, and a UI that adjusts based on the device you're using, the app. You can see that the evolution of the product has been phenomenal. And here's just some highlights, and this is a bit retrospective. For those of you that have been around PeopleSoft as long as I have, you might recall that in the early years, client-server was great, but PeopleSoft ran what was considered a fat client. All the processing ran on a PC until they adopted a multi-tier approach with web servers, app servers, and the ability to have load balancing at the processing level. And then when version 8 came out, PeopleSoft made an amazing turn to the internet, one that I don't think most analysts at the time could have predicted. And if you've been around, you might recall the catchphrase amongst PeopleSoft experts was no code on the client back then, that you could run PeopleSoft over the internet with this new internet architecture and take advantage of the widespread network. Eventually, the applications themselves embraced internet technology, and by the time version 9 came out, we had integration broker and XML messaging built into the tools, and that allowed us to interact with other web services across the internet. And it enabled embedded analytics, and at that time, mobile were actually separate applications from PeopleSoft. They were Java applications for a little while. And with the release of 9.2, we got work centers, pivot grids, fluid, POM, and selective adoption, a huge change, and you can see how rapidly these changes occurred. Now, with 8.5.5 tools, we're staring at maybe the next version of what was PIA, and that's PCA, the PeopleSoft Cloud Architecture, based on these data packs. And it's more than the PeopleSoft Cloud Architecture initially on the surface looks like a deployment tool, but it is very much more than that. It's changing the customer experience in terms of how you interact with PeopleSoft as a vendor. It is the enabler for multiple updates per year, for rapid deployment, for making choices around how you deploy and manage your PeopleSoft environment. There's lots of documentation out on the internet around the cloud architecture, and certainly at BTRG we have considerable experience. But the two elements that make this a game changer are the automation of your deployment and the automated configuration. Those two components are really the enablers for moving PeopleSoft into the cloud era. For those who don't know, they make use of a technology from Puppet Labs that bundles up app server, web binaries, process schedulers, and the tools client to make that deployment much more cost effective and speedy and lower the time. Now, imagine if all of those functions are available in the Oracle public cloud, and you don't have to download this data anymore. They're just readily available from the Oracle Cloud Marketplace. Does that change your strategy? Well, it should. So before I'm just going to go a little bit more in depth over the releases of those PUM images. This is kind of a visual diagram of what's been coming. Have there been updates and fixes? Absolutely. Has there been new functionality? Absolutely. 375 plus new features that have been delivered over 19 updates. And you can see here kind of a breakdown of HCM and ERP. Quite a significant change to the traditional PeopleSoft model. So let's say you are ready and to consider this move of putting PeopleSoft in the Oracle Cloud. How do you do it? So there's a website on the Oracle website that can step you through this concept of estimating Oracle computing processing units. And it's a little bit complex. Essentially, you need to gather some information about your current PeopleSoft install before you start going through this this estimating effort. You need to know how much processing power, what your storage requirements are, how you enable disaster recovery, whether you need high availability or not, and you need to analyze kind of two options here around the way Oracle delivers their cloud technology as either metered or non-metered. So it's a little bit complex, but our company, BTRG, assists customers in figuring out what they need. And of course, you know, we take a look at what your peak processing demands are, what happens on a Friday afternoon at the end of a financial close or when everybody's entering in their timesheets, and we help you estimate how many OCPUs you need. And then the pricing is based on two models, a metered and a non-metered approach. And the parallel I always draw is if you have a cell phone data plan and you run out of data, what happens, you know, mid-month? Obviously, Oracle doesn't cut you off, but your pricing changes. So what we've typically found is that the non-metered pricing is the best option for PeopleSoft users. And an OCPU is analogous to a virtual processing unit, not a server. So, you know, if you looked at a server that has 4 quad-core chips in it, it's really 16 OCPUs. I would use that as sort of your metric for estimating what kind of processing power you need. So all of this is to get you a price and a way to evaluate whether it's less expensive for you to run PeopleSoft on the Oracle Cloud or on-premise. There are other benefits, though, of using Oracle Cloud for PeopleSoft. So we see it, and I think Oracle sees it this way, as a good marriage between Oracle technology and the Oracle infrastructure with the product that you already know and the one that you own. And there's different ways to absorb this, and I'm going to go through a couple scenarios. But on the benefit side, for the business, it increases your agility. You don't have to wait to ramp up infrastructure and technology. You can support continuity with the business and the apps that you're familiar with. So this is going to be a viable option for some people. There's different ways to absorb this information. One is what we call sticking your toe in the pool to test the water. Perhaps just set up a demo environment which you can extract from the Oracle Cloud Marketplace, sign up for Oracle Cloud, and just spin up a demo environment in the Oracle Cloud to see how it works. And you can keep your dev test and staging areas behind your corporate firewall and production behind your firewall. And all this really means is that you get more immediate access to the latest PeopleSoft software, the latest image, all of that. So this is like the demo example. Maybe another example here is one where you move everything except your production environment into the Oracle Cloud. And typically what we see, customers have multiple test environments, a dev environment, maybe a QA environment. Some of those environments are temporary during an upgrade, or they're used to evaluate new features in a PUM image. This is a good way to potentially lower the cost and get a faster turnaround on looking at and trying out the latest and greatest capabilities. And if perhaps your VP of HR is uncomfortable with having production in a cloud environment, they want to retain that behind their corporate firewall, you can do that. The third option is sort of the all-in model, where you move all of your PeopleSoft environments onto the Oracle Cloud. Now for this, you've got some technical hurdles to overcome with interfaces, file transfers, integration with all your non-PeopleSoft systems, and they're not insurmountable at all by any means. One way of thinking about this conceptually is whether PeopleSoft resides in your corporate data center or in the Oracle data center really shouldn't make that big a difference. But there is some security to address and some hurdles to overcome to make customers comfortable with this move. But this option really gives you the greatest business agility and potentially the highest cost savings. And you can take advantage of Oracle's security and best-in-class disaster recovery and high availability. So there are some unique differentiators around Oracle Cloud. If you're looking at Oracle versus Amazon and some of the other cloud providers out there, obviously the fact that the Oracle Marketplace is integrated into their cloud means you have access to PeopleSoft DPKs through the web. You don't have to download them, you don't have to upload them to another service provider. You can take advantage of all of Oracle's technology stack. If you have other apps that you're developing on an Oracle platform, maybe platform as a service, and there's various use cases to really examine for even BTRG to tell you this is beneficial. So one scenario is we have customers that run PeopleSoft on SQL Server, and they would like to move over to the Oracle database and take advantage of some of the integrated Oracle technology that comes with the database. You can get database licenses and database as a service options with Oracle Cloud. So this could be a strategic move to just assimilate all your technology to Oracle, running Oracle apps on Oracle technology. Some of these slides are a little bit forward-looking. Our view is that there is several things going on, several things in motion here. You've got Oracle Cloud applications being developed very rapidly and new functionality being delivered very quickly. PeopleSoft, you still have new functionality being delivered, but it is a mature product. You're not going to see significant changes to journal entry or voucher processing, but you're going to see this wholesale shift to the fluid UI and enhancements within each product set. So at some point, your standard client can easily move to the cloud from PeopleSoft or stay with PeopleSoft. It really depends on how the numbers work out. And I would say we're at that point today. And just as an aside, within our own company at BTRG, we made a decision to go with all Oracle Cloud apps about 1.5 years ago, and we've deployed much of that already. We have Taleo and HCM and Sales Cloud and core pieces of the financials up and running, and we're continuing down that investment. So for us, personally, it was an easy move to make, and we're seeing more and more customers in the marketplace realize that today they can move to the Oracle Cloud for both HCM and financials and realize the benefits. For some other customers, what I would call a complex client that has perhaps some bolt-on customizations that they've built around their PeopleSoft environment for various reasons, could be regulatory reasons or a business strategic advantage, they might not be there just yet. And we think that that intersection, though, is rapidly approaching just based on the rate of new functionality being delivered in the cloud apps. If you're looking at moving Oracle's PeopleSoft applications to the cloud, there is a brief white paper, but Oracle calls them red papers. You can look it up on the internet, or you can ask us for a copy. It has kind of a complex diagram here I'm showing you on what your options are and how the technical details of running PeopleSoft on the Oracle Cloud would work. And we're happy to walk any interested client through this. We usually start with the business case and the ROI to make sure that it would be not just technically viable, but financially advantageous to move PeopleSoft into the cloud. So that's available. Here's some insight into, if you're thinking about, well, where are we as a customer compared to our peers? We have over 100 people registered for this webinar, and we asked a few questions in that registration. One of the questions was, are you feeling pressure to move to the cloud? And 40% of you said, yes, we are, which is no surprise given the market hype and the trend in general. We also asked, what version of PeopleSoft are you on? 50% of you responded that you're already on version 9.2, and the other half are on 9.1, version 9.0, or earlier. So pretty consistent with what we experience. We've worked with a little over 230 PeopleSoft customers over the last 23 years, and about half of those that are sticking with their PeopleSoft investment have moved to 9.2. So that gives you kind of a framework to compare where you are as an organization to the people both in this webinar and in the market in general. So here are 3 areas where BTRG can help you. And the first one is very low investment. BTRG can help you decide what's right. We can do some analysis. We can help you evaluate Oracle Cloud Fusion apps versus PeopleSoft, and we can provide market intelligence, both general market intelligence and specific intelligence from other customers. Those types of services we provide, we call those assessments. So they fall into this category. They're fairly low cost, short turnaround, and clients engage us to assess their options. We have pre-determined assessments for things like how much of the PeopleSoft functionality am I using today, and am I using it right? And we have a pre-canned approach to evaluating cloud versus PeopleSoft, sort of the ROI business case model. The second group of services we provide are probably no surprise to you. We've been doing projects for quite a while. We are doing Oracle PeopleSoft upgrades, but we're also doing Oracle Cloud implementations and conversions from PeopleSoft to Oracle Cloud. And then the last is, after you've made a decision and taken an implementation approach, we do provide managed services. Some of the managed services we provide are pretty new. We have one specifically around the PUM image adoption and selective adoption, and it's a subscription-based annual approach where we digest the new capabilities that come in a PUM release and point out those that are specific to your environment that will move you forward in terms of functionality and capabilities. And we get there, this is particularly attractive for customers that we've worked with before, or we have a long relationship with, and we know what was involved in their 9.2 upgrade. We do PeopleSoft administration, help desk, and technical, like a lot of our peers. And lastly, we have an approach around continuous business improvement. And this is one where we lay out each year what new functions are going to be rolled out and a schedule for that. So that's more of an ongoing business improvement model. Those are kind of the 3 areas we bucket our services into. So If you're interested in moving your PeopleSoft environment to the cloud, or you need help to evaluate, can I move to the Fusion apps? Is that a possibility for me, and what would the cost savings be? You can certainly come to Open World. We'll be there. We're at booth 3543. Or you can just call me or send us an email at the end of this presentation. We also have on our website an Ask the Experts community board that we host. It's easy to find. If you go to btrgroup.com, you'll see a link to that website. You can post questions there, and our solution architects and senior consultants will answer them. Again, I'm Jeff Goddard, president and founder of the company. Feel free to send me an email with your questions and comments. If you don't feel comfortable sending them to me, you can send them to info@btrgroup.com, and we route those questions to our senior solution architects and our practice leaders, whether it's Oracle Cloud, Fusion related, or Fluid, PeopleSoft related, PeopleTools 855. We're happy to help and happy to answer those questions. Okay, that's I think I did good. I think I got that done in 50 minutes. So, Russ, do you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it open for a couple minutes here, like I said in the beginning. If there are any immediate questions, feel free to put them in the question box here. I know there's a couple that came in. We'll be sure to answer them and compile a list and send it out to everybody. Aside from that, thanks everybody for your participation today. We hope that you found the information valuable. Like Jeff said, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions from a high level, or if you need to talk about things in a little bit more in depth relating to your specific case. Let us know. You can also respond to the webinar invite that probably came from my email address. So again, I'm just going to leave this box open for a little bit here. If you guys want to enter any questions, we'll leave it open. Other than that, thank you, Jeff. I think it was a great presentation, very informative.
Thanks, Russ. I see a few people are just asking if it's being recorded, and the answer is yes. So there'll be Russ will be sending out an email with a link to the presentation.
Okay, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you.